Hello, everybody. This is Nick Totaro, Professor of Information Technology and Computer Science, Lakeland Community College, CAE mentor and reviewer. All right, let's take a look at item 1C. Let's go up to my screen first. 1C, course syllabi and courses requiring applied lab exercises. Now, in a previous video, I was pretty adamant about keep your KU aligned courses down to a minimum, 4 or 5. Again, it's going to help, and you're going to see this is one of the first steps that it does help. Your KU aligned courses, if you get into literally 8 or 9, you're going to have to supply 8 or 9 syllabuses with 8 or 9 labs. So let's go in and let's take a look at what I provided in my application. All right. So if you remember, I had 5 KU aligned courses, ITIS 1007, ITUN 1205, ITCS 1010, ITIS 1355, and finally ITUN 1748. You will notice a couple things, right? I have the syllabus. I have it in PDF format. I have the most recent syllabus, right? A lot of times a course may only run once a year. Completely understand that, but you don't want to be pulling syllabuses from 2, 3, 4 years ago. You want the most recent syllabus that is out there. You'll notice that I'm following the naming standard that I talked about in other videos, and I'm going to keep talking about in pretty much all the videos. This is application part 1. Item C, this is a file in there. So as a faculty member, when I'm creating this application, I put it there, but as a peer reviewer, as a mentor, when I download this, guess what? It's going to go into that particular folder. You will notice that I also chose a hands-on lab. Now, these particular labs are just the raw lab. You're not going to provide the data in here. And we're going to take a look at each of these, not each, but as application and kind of explain what is going on here. But if I was to go through all of these syllabi and all of these live labs, five KU map courses, 5 syllabuses, 5 labs that are associated with it. All right. So let's open up. Let's just take a look at the first syllabus. I'm going to download. I'm not going to move it to the folder. I'm just going to open it up here. But when I'm doing a peer review, what I normally do is I move everything into those folders all at once. And I actually create subfolders based upon the course, because you're going to see that, I'm going to have a syllabus for a course. I'm going to have a lab for a course. And, here is the most recent syllabus when I filled out that application. Now, something of interest, and this is another one of those key points. As soon as I find it, in the syllabus, I know I'm zipping through pretty fast. I want to find that lab that I also uploaded. So if I go back to the, close these up, make it a little bit easier for me to read. If I go back here, it says, here's the syllabus. Here is the hands-on lab that I submitted as part of the application. We need to see that lab in the syllabus that you provided. So I'm going to download this also, but you can see this is lab, hands-on lab, model py.pdf. I'm going to go back to the syllabus, and there it is highlighted. So that particular lab that I submitted, I have it highlighted in my syllabus. I've seen a trend where all the labs are being highlighted. No. Only lab that needs to be highlighted, I verified this with other people, the only lab that needs to be highlighted is the lab that you provided. So if I go to, I'll close this, I'll go to another one. And I am going to choose, I'm going to choose ITUN 1205 Networking Plus and Networking Essentials. That is one of our CompTIA courses that we teach it based upon the CompTIA curriculum. We also base a lot of these courses, or the labs may be generated by a vendor. If you're familiar with a very popular vendor, Cengage, they have their CAE PoS and they have their subscriptions, and then they have those labs. And people ask me, hey, Nick, I use Cengage and the labs I'm being provided are part of the Cengage package. That's fine. Let's take a look at this particular syllabus and this particular lab. So again, I would download the syllabus. I would move it into my directory. So you want to keep them isolated in your directory. I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to even download the lab. And this one I'm going to open up again. Be real careful about your PDF files, especially on some of these labs. I've personally experienced where the lab, maybe it was provided by a cyber range, maybe it's provided by a publisher, and when you go to print it as a PDF, it grows very, very large very quickly. I've never understood that. I've actually had one time, I couldn't figure out why I couldn't upload a file. I found out the file was just too big. That was an extreme case. So if you run in a situation where it's not going to allow you to upload a file, see what size that file may be. And if I go to this particular lab, and again, I chose this lab because this particular lab is part of a package in from Cengage as part of their Networking Plus CompTIA curriculum. And what I basically did there was I went to Cengage and I went to that particular lab, and there's a place to say print this lab, and you can see right here is there is where it got printed from. So yeah, they don't have to be hand created labs. They can be from vendors, and this is a prime example. If I go back in this lab, just to verify, this lab was for close this up, 12.5 virtual machine lab 4.1. If I go to the syllabus, and there it is. So in week 3 under module 04 protocols, there is a lab called Live Virtual Machine Lab 1, module 4 network services and protocols. I only need, first I need to have, and the viewers and the mentors need to have what lab you are working with highlighted in the syllabus so we can basically cross-reference it. Do not highlight every single lab. I'm not sure where that came from, but I've peer reviewed a couple applications, so I'm not quite sure. We know where all the labs are. I can look where all these labs are, but I only need to have the lab that is that you're giving me as an example that needs to be highlighted. Choose labs that you're proud of. Choose labs that cover certain material. Again, these are just the directions for the labs. In other parts of the application, they will ask for student examples. And again, you're just trying to map these out to the best of your ability. What I recommend is if you're providing this lab and it's such a great lab, do you have a student submission based upon that lab? That kind of helps out. I've asked people that question, the higher ups, and they said, no, as long as they provide some student labs, that's fine. But I think it's one of those things, it's kind of a nicety. It's really, I think it's up to you. And here we go. Here is all these labs. For those you might have an NDG server, NetLab server. So I'm using labs from NDG. Here is a coursework from another faculty. Again, you've heard me say this in other videos. If you are relying upon other faculty members, fine. Give them advance notice. This particular course I don't teach, so I had to reach out to one of the faculty members, and he is very, very obliging on that. And again, you will notice that each one of these has that naming convention of this is section 1C. Now, I've seen this taken even a little bit further. That's up to you, where this is 1c. Assignment 4 or 1c for. It help us out and it makes things a little bit smoother. If any of these, let's wrap things up. For the organizations that I mentor or the organizations I peer review, if you wanted samples of these items, please reach out to me. I have no problem sharing these examples. They're not sensitive. There's some things I will not share, student transcripts and things like that. But stuff like that, if you just kind of want a sample saying, I'm not quite sure from your video or from other people's discussion what you have, reach out to me. I'm going to give you examples. So Section 1c, course syllabi, course requiring applied lab exercises, couple key takeaways. They only need to be the syllabuses of your KU aligned courses. Going back, keep your KU aligned courses to a minimum. Provide a lab there. Make sure you highlight that lab and only that lab in the syllabus, right? Gonna keep beating this horse. Make sure whenever possible to follow a nice naming standard. This happens to be section 1c. So every PDF file that I submit had a 1c in front of it. Also, happened to me one time, it didn't happen a lot, couldn't see if anybody else happening. When you create some PDF files, they may run away and get too large. If you run into a situation where you're uploading a file and it says can't upload this file, see how big that file is. So that being said, let's go learn something.